Tom McKenney is the author of Jack Hinson's One-Man War.
Hi, I'm here with Tom McKenney, the author of Jack Hinson's One-Man War, here at the SCV convention in 2009 in Hot Springs, Arkansas. Tom, I was wondering if you might be able to tell us how you came to write and find out about the story of Jack Hinson.
It was almost a divine appointment because I've always loved history. And in 1965, I was driving across what is now the Land Between the Lakes National Recreation Area. Before it was depopulated by the federal government and turned into such a recreation area, it was simply called Between the Rivers. And it was an isolated inland peninsula. There were no bridges. The people were essentially isolated from the rest of that part of the world, and as a result they were extremely independent, resourceful, self-reliant, and suspicious of outsiders. They were people who feared God but feared no one but God. And I've always been interested in those folks, and as I crossed the LBL, I stopped where the village of Golden Pond had been. There's nothing left there now but a few stone walls and trees and a cemetery. And there I saw a historical marker that I'd never noticed before, and I stopped to read it, and it told the story of a man named Jack Hinson, whose sons were murdered by Union troops in 1862 and caused him to initiate a campaign for vengeance to avenge the death of his sons. And by the end of the war, the thing said that he had killed 36 Union soldiers, and I thought, man, that's a fascinating story. I'd never heard of him. I'd never heard anything of the story. I thought I'd love to pursue that, but I couldn't. So I went on with my life. 25 years later, in 1990, I had a stroke. I gave myself a month off to recover, and I thought, I can't just sit around for a month and not do anything. What could I do that would be useful but not stressful? And I remembered that historical marker. Got in my van, drove back to Golden Pond, found the marker, photographed it. There's a unique number on the post of each of these historical markers that's keyed to the file in the archives upon which the marker is based. And I took the number, went straight to Frankfort, Kentucky, to the archives, and pulled the file, and it was almost empty. I was greatly disappointed. There was next to nothing in it. So I went back to Golden Pond, began to ask questions. I put ads in local newspapers, in the little county weeklies, and I got some responses, but not much. In the Tennessee State Archives, I found a story from the Nashville, Tennessean from 1966 about the rifle that the man had used. It really wasn't the story of the man as much as it was the story of the rifle. And it said at that time it was in the possession of a Judge Ben McFarland in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. So I drove straight to Murfreesboro, Tennessee, found him, knocked on the door, introduced myself, and there was the rifle. So I found the rifle. They were kind enough to let me come in and photograph it, measure it, and so forth, sketch it. And finding the rifle was really about the only thing I accomplished during that month. So my month was up. I went back to what I was doing. 3 years later, I had another stroke. Gave myself another month off, and I went straight back to the area, put more ads in the county newspapers, and this time I was on a search for the family. And I found them finally through the help of the historian in one of these small county libraries. And that was the beginning of real expansion. But again, my month ended, and I went back to what I was doing. And finally, about the year 2000, I decided this had gone far enough. It's time to finish this research, and so I did. And altogether, the research covered a period of 15 years, and the writing perhaps 2, and that's how I came to write the story. And this man, whom the Yankees chased without success through the war, was as elusive for me as he had been for them. But I finally found the pieces and put them together. I was interviewed by the Washington Times about the book, and the man asked me what were my primary sources, and I said, there aren't any. There aren't any. It was like working a jigsaw puzzle with the pieces scattered from Kentucky to the Atlantic Ocean, and a lot of them missing. But I was finally able, by the grace of God, to put together enough of the pieces to make the story, and that's how the book came to be written.
Perfect. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. And we're hoping everyone has an opportunity to buy the book.